Hello, my fellow creatives, and welcome to the Remember level of pattern and texture. And here's vocabulary for pattern and texture. The top two are about pattern, and the bottom ones are pretty much about texture, although collage is also a form of a pattern. So in this image, we see patterns of wavy lines, which are creating curvilinear shapes, and they repeat. Not exactly the same, though. There's a lot of irregularity in this pattern, but it's a pattern. Patterns come in many forms, as you can see in this list. If you're wearing a t-shirt, the threads are woven into the pattern to make the cloth. A radial pattern is radiating out from a center. It's based on circles, and they're going out from a central point. So in nature, you'll see a lot of these. Like if you look into someone's eyes, you'll see an iris. That is a radial balance. Starfish have it, and so do snowflakes. So we've looked at pattern. What is texture? Now, there can be a pattern to something, like you can see there's a pattern in the regular positioning of these very sharp spines on this cactus. However, the sharpness is the texture, the degree which something is rough or smooth, soft or hard or sharp. Now, texture mapping, that is something that in graphic design, you take a two-dimensional surface called a texture map and you wrap it around a three-dimensional object to create the illusion of texture. But actually, it's on a smooth screen. The texture you see is not necessarily the texture of the computer that is delivering it to you. So in contrast, tactile texture is perceptible by touch. You can actually feel the texture of this controller. Tactile texture is tangible and it exists in the world, not inside the screen. So we talked about tactile texture. You can see tactile texture before you touch it, but you can touch it. Ouch! It hurts. Or soft as your cat. Visual texture or implied texture is when something looks like it has texture, but actually it doesn't. And that's what video games and movies are made out of. Visual texture is the illusion of tactile texture. A collage is a common way for artists to organize their thoughts. Their visual thoughts, that is. It's a great tool for visual storytelling. The images are grouped together to express complicated ideas, and you can move them around before you paste them down. You can do this with paper, or you can do it digitally. Your phone is probably full of many ways to collage onto your photographs. Now, verisimilitude is a big word. But you can break it down, and I break it down to very similar to. So verisimilitude, very similar to, is the appearance of being real. And as we go towards realism, we try for verisimilitude. However, there is a drawback, and that's called the uncanny valley, which can make people feel very uncomfortable when it's almost real, but just not quite convincing. That's the uncanny valley. Now, trompe-l'œil is French for deceive the eye. And that is, street artists use it a lot, such as this one here. The representation of an object has so much verisimilitude that it deceives the viewer, but usually these things are only from a certain angle. So you can see the snail looks very much like it's a three-dimensional object with the lady on the bench, but when you step away in a different angle, you see that the actual drawing was not realistic at all. It was broken into two parts, and only from the angle what the first photograph is does it look real. It fools your eye. Of course, there are many more words that deal with pattern and texture. And as you go through your design career, you will be working with many of them. But if you remember these: pattern, radial balance, texture, the difference between tactile and visual texture, use in collage, for example, in storyboards and in planning meetings, verisimilitude and trompe-l'oeil make you sound very mature and cosmopolitan. All right, ta-ta for now. See you in class.